Okay, that's the intro for today. Any coder who didn't hit their Valentine with the "Would you be data mined?" Ooh, you're missing out. You're missing out. Interesting thing, in Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2, you can upgrade your weapons, you can upgrade your armor, you can do it a lot. And there's a lot of different paths for things to take. Tremendous amount, even. And in 3, they start shortening it up. In Sekiro, they take it basically completely away, and that's pretty sad, in my opinion. They turned Elden Ring into a Fortnite Monster Hunter roguelike. Every popular game stuck together. But here's my thought. Here's something that hit me while I was watching Night Rain. Because I'm going to spoil myself on Elden Ring because I don't give a crap about it anyways. It might be just the thing that Zoomers need to be pulled up of the morass, the decade of Fortnite. Because it looks a lot like Fortnite in that it is like an arena-based kind of roguelike with that shrinking eye. Shrinking eye. I know it might seem like I went off on Jews yesterday, but it wasn't Jews. It's not Jews. It's true that Zionists aren't like the silly, funny, endearing stereotypes you see in comedy movies. Not at all. And what they really are is AI, or before AI, thinking that they could use bots and thinking that they could use machines to replace every actual talent and skill on the planet. Stealing, essentially. Porn, stealing people's bodies, stealing people's sexual drive, stealing people's oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine combination that involves physical interaction with another human being of the opposite sex. And sadism. In fact, when... Hold on, I'll get into that next. All the non-Zionist Jews I know are smart, funny, and creative, but they're not Zionists. So the stereotype does have some merit. Now, they've been training our police for 25 years, if not a little bit more, in certain places like Los Angeles and New York. All the while, when the cops are forced to neglect serious issues while they fester and grow, you know why. And when they hurt people, going back to the whole sadism as a tender, when they hurt people, they're getting back the payment system that Zionists have set up that involves a sort of encomienda of them pissing all over their neighbors and their kin in order to get that little bit of revenge, like that sort of high school bully-y. You know, the person who is bullied all the time, usually by some like queermo who had no sense of balance or decency, but maybe sometimes because they deserved it. You know what I'm saying? And they just kept that in their psyche forever, and that's what you actually end up seeing. A lot of the people who end up knowing these police officers who grew up into being these abusive pieces of garbage is that they were bullied a lot in high school, and unlike college, you don't have as much freedom of movement, so it really does suck when you get bullied in school. In middle school, there's very cliquey private choice middle school that I was invited to, like a magnet school of sorts, and it was miserable. I never got bullied, but I certainly got neglected by basically everybody because I wasn't part of a clique that had been known for a long period of time by each other. I had moved into the area a couple of years prior. But as soon as I went to public high school, because our public high school was good, because our area was, not is today, was good, I had a wonderful high school. It was the best. It was great. I wouldn't say it was the best part of my life, but it was definitely the best part of my school life. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't want to admit that I peaked in high school even if I did, but I certainly didn't, because I can see every single year I get older, I get a little bit wiser, I get a little bit more confident, I get a little bit more settled in the things that I have wondered and worried about before. Because I'm a person that strives for outlining and defining things. And that's what makes it really sad about this whole video games and fantasy and art and everything being smashed together, especially now expedited through AI, which is just taking old things and combining them with other old things to create a simulacrum, a merge, if you will, of the new thing. Like, the merge is on. And I don't like that because, I'm a fan of, like, outlining the complexities of systems. I'm not a fan of the things that repeat themselves without any sort of grace or dignity. I really did think that Satanism was a meme, till I met Zionists and saw them activate their golems. Is real. Is real, alright. And the horrors of Guantanamo Bay are probably majorly understated based on the tactics I've seen the same exact people roll out over the country. They probably straight up find new and advanced ways of torturing people in mass. And I'm pretty sure what Havana Syndrome actually is you're in the vicinity of these sound, vibration, light, chemical weapons that they're testing in Guantanamo Bay, and you're getting a little bit of it exposed to you, and it's fucking your brain up. Like, DeSantis is fucked in the head, man. He's completely screwed up. Here's some good advice. Learn to switch back and forth from absorbing to processing at will. Absorb the good parts of your family. Process the struggles and hardships. Absorb the love and charity and decency and hope that you feel in this world. And process the suffering and the being bogged down and the distractions. Process them. Don't absorb them. Absorb the love. Don't second guess that. But that takes practice, and that takes time, and that takes sorting things out properly. And that's the methodology that's behind it all. You can wash off a bad day easy. You can shake off a bad month. But a bad attitude? Ooh, that's a little bit harder. That's a little bit harder. I can't really look at Zelensky without seeing my friend's crackhead brother. The likeness is uncanny. And yes, they are both Ukrainian, but still, Zelensky is like a legitimate crackhead. I can tell. I know what a Ukrainian crackhead looks like. And I hate to make you worry, but Kiev totally would attack Chernobyl out of spite and then run away. Totally would attack Chernobyl out of spite and then run into Europe. Totally. The structure of Europe, the sort of Stellantis structure that Europe has set up, is demonic and satanic. And it's part and parcel of the same issues that I'm pointing out when I point out the issues in Zionism, which is to say, morality is collapsing. If you haven't heard this before, if you haven't listened to me say this before, look up Frankism. It was started by a Polish Jew who took the little remaining winnowing morals of the Talmud, threw them completely out, instituted pedophilia and incest orgies as a ritual, and his goal was to eliminate the world's order and induce global anarchy. And you can kind of see how that movement has moved forward in the modern era, especially when there is no such thing as a social contract. Everybody is out for each other's necks, and we're programmed to think that life is just one big free-for-all where you're trying to climb to the very, very top. But nobody ever questions, and then what? Then you get picked off by the power structure, and the rest of your life is forfeit. It's never about your own choices, and that means you don't have free will, and that's exactly what it means to be a golem. Biden being one of the most anti-black politicians is also one of the worst politicians is probably why we should probably retire. We should probably retire the old super predators bit. Well, what's that? Kanye West with the folding chair out of nowhere! Unbelievable! I guess hate's back on the menu, boys. just kidding. Just kidding. We should bring back Afros. Afros are goated, serious style. Also, mullets, a vibe. I can't believe I don't see mullets anymore. It makes me very sad. Bring back your funked up white boys, busting it down, goated with the sauce. White boy orders tacos in fluent Spanglish. Onlooker shocked. I'd say everybody has an inherent right to a well-paying job, and this is something that South Park got completely wrong when they're talking about the jerker gerbs thing. Like, quite literally, what you do see is you do see outsourcing, and you see globalism, and you see layoffs, and you see liquidation, and you see all these variety of things. I could go on and on and on. That's what's actually destroying. It's not a couple of people getting welfare down there. It's not a couple of people sucking it all up there. What it is the entire system has broken down its morality and it's turned into a free-for-all. That is the entire point. Whether it's a welfare system and or some slumlord who wants it all, that is just refusing morality. And if you don't agree that every single person deserves to be paid well, whether they're working at Walmart, whether they're working at McDonald's, whether they're working at the bank, whether they're working at the space station, whether they're working anywhere from bottom to top, they should be paid enough if their job is necessary, which means that there's an establishment where they're hiring. They should be paid enough to survive. People shouldn't be having to work 3 jobs. That's ridiculous. Like, why would anybody want to invest and further that system unless they were screwed in the head and the same exact people would further down that road, that immoral, anarchic system? Why? It's not a system for the nation of America, I'll tell you that much. It's why there are such intense penalties on things like cattle rustling and horse thieving, after all. Because that was somebody's livelihood, and we established early on that if you got in the way of that, then you could face the death penalty because you are effectively trying to take somebody else's life. And the degree to which you are serious about that is the degree to which you'd be serious about taking other people's lives. We used to be a proper country. Used to be a proper country. I don't think working class was ever a thing. It's a title it's something that Bernie liked to use. It's something that you see every once in a while. Working class. I don't think it was ever a thing. Who doesn't work in one way or another? Even people who play video games for a living, and I see a couple of them, they work a lot in their editing rooms, in their marketing chambers, if you will, and they work very hard in order to make a living. Like, there's no such thing as working class. It's all degrees of people and the striations and the nation that holds them together. And there shouldn't be, and what I'm saying, there shouldn't be a war of the top to the bottom, and then the top can just flee to another country like you see with Germany, like you see with South Africa, like you see with Israel, like you see with America. That should not be the case. Not at all, not never. That's exactly what I mean by nationalism is the way to go. No such thing as working class. It's just a people, right? It's countrymen, artisans, experts, soldiers, day laborers, architects. Point to me where working class funnels into that. It doesn't. It's just a term to try and separate out I think what it really is it's trying to separate out, like, the people who come up with ideas and do art and do the things that enrich people's lives, and the rest of the iconoclastic system that is just about functionality. And that's the whole engineering push, is all about functionality, so it can be utilized as a tool. There's no trademark to it. And even your art itself, it costs $1 million for this crazy bent paperclip structure that doesn't make anybody happy ever. That's the entire point of that. That's a working class sculpture, if you will. And it probably goes back to Marxism. And as I haven't studied Marxism that deeply, I just know from looking 100 years back that it is one of the most broken, busted out, and defunct philosophies to ever exist. But yeah, I think working class is probably a Marxist term. It's just a people and a nation and how people can help each other overall, all of it together. So that's that thought. Shouldn't dwell on that too much. I could probably talk about that for a while. It's unfortunate that people gaming the system can secure a higher net income than people who bust their ass, though. I will say that. I will say that. You see it all the time. You hear about people doing it. You hear about people exploiting this, that, and the third. I've literally seen with my own eyes Indian gas station attendees paying people 50 cents on the dollar for their food stamps, and people trying to game the system as much as possible, usually for like drugs. And I've seen it with my own eyes. I've heard about people doing it. I've seen it with my own eyes. I haven't done it myself, of course. I've never been on welfare ever in my life, and it's a point of pride. And I don't intend on ever being on welfare any time in my life. But I also don't consider myself working class, but I do consider myself an American. You know what I'm saying? So I work plenty hard. I do a ton. In fact, I'm exhausted right now, but I'm gonna keep going. The fact that stress and travel at work, and it's costly, you know, but the game is rigged from the start, so people don't factor in like traveling, stress, eating out, and stuff like that. They don't function in the taxing to your overall health that is incorporated in working some of these modern jobs, which back in the day would be a blessing, but now is a curse. You can see how it's been reverse engineered and weaponized against people like so many other things. I think reverse engineering and weaponizing basically every single thing in society is like the proto AI, grinding everything down into, you know, value generating tools for a floating cloud city of a twisted up, destructive type of people. Wouldn't call them a class because it's like, it doesn't matter what religion you are, doesn't matter what culture you are, doesn't matter what language you speak, where you're from. People from all over the world doing absolutely evil things because they're part of this encomienda system. Encomienda system is where you can select people who have no morals and no dedication to their nation and their kin and their kith, and you can separate them and turn them into a manager, a general over the rest of the people to be abused in that particular type of system, in the encomienda system. It runs off of racism, and that's why you see Zionism is like the most racist general philosophy that probably generated Nazism through its theosophy. And it's interesting that the Star of David is on the theosophical symbol, along with the Ouroboros. Oh god, the overplayed Ouroboros. You see that everywhere these days, and I bet you half the people with Ouroboros in their stuff don't even know what it's really like dating back to, what it's associated with. I don't even know where it comes from personally. It's just some bull crap. Oh wow, snake eating its own tail. I saw the funniest picture in the world of this. It's this like ring with an eye in the center saying, okay, you can have your toy, but it's not coming inside of the house. And it's like this mountain who's crying tears, and it's like Sophia, the wisdom thing, and then you have this like cube, and around it is Yaldabaoth, the lion-headed serpent, chasing its own tail in an Ouroboros style around that cube, and inside the cube is Saturn. And he's just like, lol, I'm God, lol, lol, lol. I think the 4chan Gnostic posting was pretty good back in the day, if I remember that correctly. It's been a while. It's been a while. All right. That's enough of that. The bankers got England through government and licenses, but the US, it's through subscription, private services, and subscriptions. You see that a lot. That doesn't mean every single subscription service is garbage, but you see it creeping. You see it creeping into everything tyrannically. Imagine being a millennial incel crypto day trader and seeing the boat take out without you. Oh, the pain. Learn to farm, bro. Learn to farm. Learn to eat. You ain't gonna eat off code, man. That's gonna get replaced by AI, unfortunately. That's the thing. AI speaks in code, so it's the first thing that you can assure it will be locked up by. And then the degree to which it can lock up other things is the degree to which they can synthesize it with the data that they've collected of those other things. But when it comes to code, AI's taking it. You know, you can already see I'm pretty sure Null was a better person before he started using AI, and then I think, genuinely, I think he's just like, okay, I can use AI for everything. Time to throw away my old friends. Although I would say he didn't throw away Dax Herrera. Dax Herrera threw away morality and decency. More time he spent in LA, and that was that. C'est la vie. It was a good choice. Listen. I'm not here to defend recreational weed, but if somebody says some hogwash like marijuana psychosis, you know they make decisions without evidence. Show me the evidence. First off, it's not marijuana. That's a slang term. It doesn't actually have any scientific definition. It's a slang term. It's cannabis, and it's been around for thousands, if not tens of thousands of years, depending on which particular timeline you believe in. But it's been around since the beginning, and people have used it since the beginning, and it's been omnipresent throughout a lot of different societies. So, from the Middle East in the Kush, pretty sure, like there's Kush region of Armenia, and then there's the Hindu Kush region of India, and indica comes from India, and then it was brought up through the Indo-Europeans and then turned into sativa, cannabis sativa. Sativa literally legitimately means that you can see it in thousands of different plant species of Europe. So there's literally a cannabis species named after Europe. And it's crazy that these, like, a lot of them are like white nationalist nut jobs, and they think that that marijuana is somehow like the deadliest thing in the world, but they'll put their kids on pharmaceuticals. That blows my mind. That blows my mind, man. Really, truly. I've been saying for years that GMO weed is bad, but that's 10 years versus 10,000 years, my man. Like, put it together, it's you can do something about GMO, you can do something about the alchemization of a variety of the things that we have come to utilize. Just as there's a sort of an alchemical feel to the melding of everything together into a tool, right? You can kind of see that a little bit. And I think that's one of the reasons why we as a country, after saving the Jews and Catholics, we saved a lot of people by preventing the Holocaust. I don't know how many French people we saved, but that's irrelevant. Sorry, frogs. No, just kidding. I love you guys. But for real, we brought them in. We brought in the Japanese 731 scientists. We brought in everybody who would be useful for this alchemical New Age project that we instituted here in America. And Kennedy was trying to wrangle it real hard, but you can see all of his problems, and you can also see how he, like, wasn't good enough for him. You need some, like, straight up unthinking golem like LBJ instead. Well, that might be the jumping of the shark. So, we'll actually see. In different timelines, you know, you can imagine a whole variety of different things. Speaking of alchemy, Denmark can't get rid of Ozempic fast enough. There's like 600 different retailers for the slime. Oh, gosh. And I bet you I'm probably healthier and more intelligent than anybody who's ever taken Ozempic and fried the fat inside of their brain. I bet you. There's something really wrong with that stuff. But I bet, because there's a lot of pharmaceuticals that make you act a certain way. Like, there's literally a pharmaceutical that when you give it to racist people, it shuts off their ability to be racist. I bet you Ozempic does something to the brain that they're trying to institute as a, like, gambling. It probably makes people more viable for gambling, because people who gamble a lot, they have damage in a certain part of their brain that tells them to stop. Funny enough, that's also the exact part of the brain that gets damaged a lot in the most successful traders. So, like, depending on where you manifest in, like, rich parent, rich dad, poor dad, as somebody has said before, that's where you go. You become Wolf of Wall Street, or you become the Vegas scumbag getting their knees broken. You don't know when to stop. And of course, there's a big factor of luck in that, and that's what people like in the dopaminergic, you know, lottery machine. Hey man, it's not for me. I would say I've actually probably won more off of scratch-offs than I've spent on them. because there's times when I've won like $500, and I have not been big on scratch off. So I'm just lucky, but I also don't gamble. So there's the thing is just like, you can kind of tap into your leprechaun sense a little bit more, you feel me, if you're not just brain dead slave thrall to those horrific casinos. And people talking about Cuban casinos, and it just makes me like curl my lips, because that's the golden calf. Trump's trying to lead us out of the desert, and we're looking back at that golden calf, and Trump's gonna be gone one day, and we're gonna need to be dedicated to actually fixing the country through genuine upset instead of going back to our vomit. Just like Celtic has a slippery C, Latin has a slippery T, like gracias. Gracias is spelled with a T. They're both related through Etruscan, but Etruscan is related to Canaanite and Semitic, and those are all related back to Egyptian. So you have this writing system that like went up through the Aegean and melded with the old Celtic and German cultures, which had the same sort of pantheon of gods, just with different names as the Greeks did. And some of them, like the horse god Epona, went into Italy to become the chariot god. There was no horse or chariot god before the Etruscans encountered the Romans. This is a very interesting fact, leading credence to the fact that Etruscans gave a lot of their culture, like the communal pooping booths, to the Romans. That comes from the Etruscans. That's one of those pieces of architecture that we're sure radiocarbon dating that it actually did come from up north instead of from the Mediterranean proper. I don't know why. Maybe it's about like communal regularity to make better synchronized soldiers. You know what I'm saying? Also, there's an X in the like Aquitani ancient European languages of like Old Sardinian or Old Corsican, I can't remember. I think it's Old Sardinian and Basque. There's an X that's slippery, and it can be pronounced as an S too. So C, T, X. All goes. Also, I hate the sound of hissing. Oh, God, I hate the sound of hissing. When people hiss through all their S's, it hurts me really bad. And you got to hold your tongue back a little bit. Like, really, truly. Oh, God, when people do that delivery, I just start... Ooh, my stomach starts hurting. Oh, well. Because I can tell the difference between an actual lisp and somebody who's hissing through all of their words. And I despise the latter. Why don't Italians ever have hair? They're always so male-bad and baldness core. It must be the preservatives and the fancy meats that they eat these days. I think that's a big thing that does it. Kill your roots. The more I think about it, the more I actually like Italians. In their natural state, as decent, moral Catholics with a penchant for phenomenal cooking and humor. I hate to see it, you know. I heard from knowledgeable sources that Jewish actors playing Italians is actually how you get these stereotypical wops. Like, it makes a lot of sense with the whole gang stuff and the whole turn your back on Christianity stuff. Sad. I hate to see it. I'm not afraid of Zionists increasing aggression towards Catholics or Christians in general. Want to know why? It's already been full court press genocidal towards Christendom. Genocidal towards Christendom. Full court press. I've seen it. You can study it very easily. It's 1000% been the playbook for a while. And that doesn't mean that the Germans were justified, but they were going up through there during the Weimar Republic, let me tell you. I'm very skeptical of something that calls itself a republic without a nationalist backbone. Any internationalist republic is something you got to look out for, just like the USSR. Saint John Bosco could summon wolves. Brendaniel balded himself so he could gain bear summoning powers after seeing it in the Bible. What I want to know is, who is summoning raptors? The benevolent white face? Who up summoning they raptor? Apparently that game's dead. I can see Space Marine just totally like wiping it because it has like very similar. I think that was like a test for some of the Space Marine Zerg physics. You know what I'm saying? I listened to Bird Daniel's stream yesterday and he explained how charisma is mostly just paying attention. That's some true stuff. You listen, you filter, you hold back on some of your ideas. Sometimes your ideas will chase you and you'll just go, and you'll repeat them over and over in your head until you actually gain real excitement. But if you just listlessly go through each like most blanket base emotion, and you will crawl along the ground like a worm. You gotta be able to, get yourself pumped. And you need to hold back, you need to be chased, and then you need to exercise your excitement in appropriate times. And you need to listen to determine when best that is. It's that simple. It's all about paying attention. I've said for years we need to get rid of dual citizenship. Full stop, no exception. And I've said never trust somebody with sleeve tattoos, and I've since come to realize the multiple holes in that assumption. Not everyone with sleeves is a bad person. However, never, never, never trust a man in plastic cat-eye glasses. Never. Don't do it. Don't do it. Never seen one. Never seen one that isn't like sneaky. Look out for that. Alright, y'all. It was a good episode. Good long. Making up for the last two episodes being kind of cruddy. So, hope y'all have a good one. I'm gonna get back out there. Cheers.